What's up, everybody? I'm Saleh, and welcome to AdoramaXP. God of War Ragnarok has been out for a couple weeks now, and people have beaten it. I just ended the credits, 60 hours of gameplay. It was insane! So if you don't have the time for that, or maybe you don't have a PlayStation, we're going to give you the entire story, filled with spoilers, of God of War Ragnarok. What you missed, what you're excited about, and everything else in between, so you know all about God of War. Think of it as our spoiler cast, where we're going to go all the way into the story with everything that's happening. Well, let's get right into it. God of War Ragnarok starts 3 years after the previous game, and Kratos and Atreus have been hiding during Fimbulwinter. They're out hunting in the beginning, and Freya immediately attacks them. Freya's out to kill and hunt Kratos due to him killing Baldur from the previous game. Kratos refuses to fight back, and they escape. Atreus is getting antsy, and he's ready to find out who he truly is. Who is Loki, and what does Loki mean? Kratos, on the other hand, wants to lay low and want nothing to do with war or with Odin or anything. And he thinks that if Atreus finds out who he is, that will lead to the inevitable prophecy of Kratos dying and also the war Ragnarok. Atreus' wolf Fenrir, who we just meet in this game, dies as soon as we meet him, and it is absolutely heartbreaking. It causes immediate tears in the first 30 minutes of the game. We see Atreus cast a spell who he doesn't know that he's casting, and as Fenrir dies, in his arms, it brings out 3 blue lights from Fenrir. Now this will come into play later on in the game. Atreus wanders off on his own to mourn the death of Fenrir, but hours go by and Kratos gets worried, goes out looking for him. We face off against a giant bear in the snow who decides to maul Kratos out of nowhere. We get into this huge fight. Kratos almost kills the bear, but as soon as he does the last blow, the bear changes into Atreus, shocking everybody. We now learn that Atreus can turn into animals, but he is susceptible to changing when he's emotionally distraught. He cannot control his power. We get back to the house. Thor and Odin crash down and interrupt our slumber. There is no rest for Kratos or Atreus. This is the first time we meet Thor and Odin. Thor is Odin's lackey, his hitman, always doing anything Odin tells him, which we'll learn later on. This is what breaks Thor down. Thor tells Kratos that he owes him a blood debt for killing his boys in the first game. Odin explains how he doesn't want war and that he prefers peace. He also says, as long as you don't search for Tyr, we won't have war. You protect your people, I'll protect mine. Now, Odin is a very interesting character in this game. He is like this smarmy type of gangster who kind of knows he can get away with anything and he has no consequences, and it plays off perfectly. Kratos refuses Odin's request, which is interesting as Kratos doesn't want war. You'd think he wants peace, but Kratos wants Atreus to find answers, and his love for Atreus is more than this peace with Odin, especially because Mimir's like, don't trust this guy. Odin tells Thor it's his turn, and a massive fight ensues between Thor and Kratos. The Mjolnir gets thrown around. Kratos cannot stop Mjolnir for anything. Now, one of the most memorable moments in the game, and it's awesome. The game asks you to rapidly press circle to try and stop Thor. We fail, and the end game credits come in as if we just died, and hints are showing up, and we're like, wait a second, we just pushed, why are we dead? And then we hear Thor's voice, who brings Kratos back to life, saying, you're not dying yet. And we're like, oh my god, that was part of the game. It was insane. It was an incredible fake out, and one that will be remembered in God of War forever. While Kratos fights Thor, Odin is left speaking with Atreus, but we don't know what they're talking about. But we later find out that Odin wants to use Atreus' knowledge. We reunite with Brock and Sindri, and they tell us we should go to the Dwarven realm to find Durlin, who used to lead the rebellion with Faye, Kratos' wife. Durlin would know where Tyr would be. So we head to the new realm, the Dwarven realm, Svartalfheim. We find Durlin, and he tells us to go to a mine. We find Tyr in this mine, who has been chained up for years, and he is no longer the god of war. He's no longer who he once was. He wants peace, and he's afraid of combat. We bring him back to Sindri's house, and we switch off to Atreus' gameplay. The first time we play as Atreus, which is awesome. Atreus is much more faster than Kratos, bow and arrow, and a lot more about agility. Atreus and Sindri head out to Midgard to speak to the World Serpent, and the World Serpent tells them to go to Ironwood, which we don't know anything about. We've never heard of Ironwood before. Atreus gets the idea to go to Freya, which Sindri thinks is a terrible idea because Freya wants to kill them. Atreus tells Freya that they have Tyr, and he wants Freya on their side to find answers and to go against Odin. She luckily allows him to leave and contemplates possibly forming an alliance. Atreus tells Kratos that each prophecy actually has a hidden prophecy for giants, and Atreus shows Kratos the inside of prophecies, which Atreus is only able to be unlocked because he is the only giant. The new prophecy shows us that Asgard will be destroyed in order for all the other realms to survive. Tyr, Atreus, and Kratos view this new prophecy that was hidden to everyone, including Odin. Now just remember, Tyr is also with them at this point, and that's important to know. We go home, Atreus goes to sleep and wakes up in Ironwood, the place he's been searching for. We find Angrboda the first time we meet her, who is Goa's daughter, the new person to create prophecies. Atreus learns all about the prophecy that Kratos saw in the first game that he hid from Atreus. Kratos ending up dead, and Loki working for Odin. Angrboda shows Atreus that she has the rest of the living giants, but their souls are in these marbles to hide from Odin. Atreus and Angrboda go to Angrboda's aunt's house to rescue a wolf, and in doing so end up rescuing a snake. Atreus puts one of the souls from the marbles into the snake, which later becomes a giant snake, possibly Jormungandr, who we all know as the world's serpent. As Atreus goes back home, Kratos interrupts him, ensuing in a huge argument. Kratos wants to know the truth about Loki, where Loki was, and Loki is unable to tell him. Keeping truths and trusting each other with limited knowledge is a big theme in this game, just like the first one. Freya interrupts them, and a big fight begins. Kratos doesn't fight back and does everything he can to stop it. Atreus turns into a bear due to his emotional pain and tries to kill Freya, but Kratos stops Atreus from doing so. Freya realizes that maybe killing Kratos is a bad idea and asks him for his help. She needs him to go to Vanaheim, her home realm, and remove the lock Odin has on her. This lock doesn't allow her to leave Midgard. Kratos agrees, and we head to Vanaheim. Freya gets reunited with Freyr, Freya's brother, who we've heard so much about. Freya holds a grudge against Freyr, since he never came to help her when she was captive in Asgard. Freyr mentions that he thought she was dead and mourned her. This was an incredibly emotional scene, and it was played out beautifully. After freeing Freya, we head back to Sindri's house to come up with a plan. Due to Atreus not giving answers, everyone thinks he went to Asgard to speak to Odin. Atreus feels attacked and turns into a bear. He hits Sindri with his paw and runs away. When he gets to Midgard, he finds Odin's ravens and decides to actually go to Asgard. We climb the giant wall as Loki to reach Asgard and meet Heimdall at the top. Heimdall is super cocky, a know-it-all who thinks he can get away with everything. He almost drops Loki from the edge, but allows him to come to Asgard. You get into a fight with Heimdall and learn that he can see all your moves before they even happen, so he's pretty much immortal. Thor and Odin stop the fight, and Odin gives us the tour of Asgard. We learn that Odin has an infinite supply of troops, as he just brings people back from the dead from Helheim. Great. Odin gives us a room, which was the room of Magni, who we killed in the first game, and we meet Thrud, Sif and Thor's daughter. And we also meet Sif. They both hate Loki for obvious reasons, and Odin tells us his plan. He needs Loki to decipher a mask to open up a portal to find out everything ever. The mask would allow those to look into this sliver of infinite knowledge. Odin looked into it before without the mask and lost his eye. Loki and Thor go to Muspelheim to find the piece of the mask. Loki finds another prophecy. It shows us how Ragnarok would start. Surtur and Samara would combine to form a creature called Ragnarok. They find the piece of the mask and return back to Asgard. We switch back over to Kratos, and they get the idea to find the Norns, basically the Oracle in the Nine Realms. The Norns are sick, and this scene is amazing. They mention that Kratos will die, and then Heimdall intends to kill Atreus. Kratos, enraged, must stop this from happening. Sindri and Brock give Kratos Draupnir, a ring that turns into multiple rings. This new weapon would allow them to kill Heimdall and stop him from seeing what's happening next. It would stun him. We go to the Lady of the Forge with Brock, but before leaving, Sindri does his best to go instead of Brock. He pleads with Kratos to allow him to go instead. Kratos, angry at Sindri for gallivanting the realms with Atreus without his permission, says no. We get to the Lady of the Forge, which is this giant mermaid, and she turns the ring into a spear. This spear can multiply, allowing Kratos to throw multiple spears and stun Heimdall, causing him to not see what's coming next. Brock tries to say hello to the Lady of the Forge, but she can't see him. We learn that the Lady of the Forge can only see those that are whole, meaning a part of Brock is missing. Brock has died in the past, and Sindri saved him, but couldn't recover his entire soul, leaving a piece of him in Helheim. Sindri has always lied to Brock, claiming he never died, and this scene definitely pulls on your heartstrings, especially since Kratos does something completely unexpected. He tells Brock that he is worthy and an incredible blacksmith to give the spear a blessing. We go back to Loki and go to Helheim to find the next piece of the mask. Loki and Thrud find Garm, a wolf in Helheim, chained up. Loki thinks the mask is behind the wolf, and once freeing Garm, they find out it was a dead end and no mask piece was found. Heimdall finds out they freed Garm and tells them they made a grave mistake. Garm is a realm-tearing wolf who will cause havoc throughout the realms. Heimdall beats up Loki and Thrud, and they return to Odin empty-handed. Loki leaves Asgard defeated, back to his father at Sindri's house. Atreus reunites with his father. They hug, well-deserved. Kratos and Atreus go back to Helheim to find Garm to fix the mistake of Atreus. We learned that we won't be able to kill Garm since he doesn't have a soul. He just keeps on being rejuvenated after we kill him. Each time we kill him, he comes back to life. Loki comes up with the idea to put the soul of Fenrir into Garm. Remember Fenrir's soul from the beginning? Garm becomes Fenrir, and it's so cute. Fenrir is now a giant wolf and takes every command Kratos has. Kratos is shocked. It's really funny having Kratos say sit to this giant wolf of realm-tearing proportions. We go back to Sindri's house, and Atreus tells us everything Odin has been up to, including the mask. Freya goes to Vanaheim to help her brother, and we go with her. Here, Kratos gets into a huge fight with Heimdall. Heimdall is shocked we hit him, and it's the first time he's been hit. In Kratos' mind, all the prophecies are speaking to him. You're going to kill Heimdall, you're going to kill Heimdall, but Kratos doesn't want to do this. So Kratos decides not to kill him to go against the prophecy. But this makes Heimdall even more upset. He won't allow Kratos to dictate if he should live or not. So he cuts off his own arm, regrows it using his magic, and another fight ensues. And in this one, Kratos kills Heimdall. Kratos has Gjallarhorn, the horn that Heimdall had. This will allow Ragnarok to happen. We go back to play as Atreus and go back to Asgard. We team up with Thor and go to Niflheim to find the last piece of the mask. As soon as we find it, Odin and Sif come through the portal and tell them that Heimdall is dead and Atreus is to blame. Thor goes to try and kill Atreus, and he teleports with the help of Sindri out of there. As soon as we get back to Sindri's house, all hell breaks loose, and this is the biggest part of the game. Tyr comes up with the idea to take the mask back to Asgard. This makes Brock suspicious. Brock immediately distrusts Tyr and his plan getting into Asgard undetected, saying, wait a second, if you knew this the entire time, why didn't you tell us? Tyr turns into Odin and stabs Brock. Odin tries to take the mask back and is unsuccessful. Odin disappears and Freya tries to save Brock. Brock dies in the arms of Sindri, and it's absolutely heartbreaking. This is where Sindri completely changes in his character arc. The biggest twist of the game, Tyr was Odin this entire time. Odin knew every move. It's wartime. Everyone goes to bring the realms together against Odin. Kratos and Atreus go to Muspelheim to get Surtur to turn into Ragnarok. After persuading Surtur, he uses Kratos' blades to put Surtur's fire into those blades and has Kratos stab his heart, which is the heart of Samara. He becomes a giant beast, and we head back to Midgard. We reunite with our camp and head to Asgard for war. Ragnarok, the world serpent and all the realms are fighting. It is an insane sequence. It is breathtaking. There is always something going on outside in the sky. If it's Jormungandr fighting Thor or all the realms just opening up. Sindri helps us destroy the war machines that was stopping Ragnarok and destroying the other realm entrances. Destroying the war machines, though, kills off Midgardians. Odin placed these Midgardians to die to slow them down. And this is not a scene Atreus can close his heart to, and Kratos sees that. They change plans. Instead of trying to destroy Asgard, they're going to save as many people as they can and just kill Odin. Kratos, the destroyer, becoming the savior. Kratos learns that he must open his heart up like Faye wanted instead of closing it. That was the message all along. Atreus and Sindri go to break the weak point of the wall, but before they do, Thrud stops him. As Thrud contemplates killing Atreus, Sif comes in and tells Thrud that he's not the bad guy. Odin is, and always will be. Odin caused the family to separate. They team up, and we break the giant wall down. Kratos, Thrud, and Atreus and Freya continue to Asgard, where Kratos fights Thor. Kratos refuses to kill Thor, trying to get them to make an alliance since their kids are friends. This reminded me of the Batman, Superman, Martha scene, where it's like, wait, your mom is that? Oh, like, our kids are friends. But it wasn't as bad as obviously that. Thor opens up to this alliance and accept. And as he does, Odin comes in and kills Thor for disobeying him and not killing Kratos. Thor is no more. A giant fight scene begins with Kratos, Odin, Atreus, and Freya. One of the most memorable scenes in the game is Freya holding a magical noose around Odin's neck as she strangles him. It was epic. As they fight, the ground falls beneath them, and they are back at the Portal of Knowledge. Odin asks Atreus to use the mask to see through it. Loki thinks about it. Atreus thinks about it. Kratos says, it's up to you, son. And instead of Atreus going to use the mask to look to the realm of everything, He breaks it. Odin becomes mad, and you fight him some more. Odin gets defeated, and Atreus asks him to surrender and stop. Odin tells him he can't change. He will never stop. It's who he is. This is not what Atreus wanted to hear. He casts a spell and puts Odin's soul in one of the marbles. Kratos gives the marble to Freya, saying, I vow to never get in the way of your decisions on who lives and who dies. Freya contemplates destroying the marble, but instead doesn't do it. And Sindri, coming out of nowhere, grabs the marble and breaks it with his hammer. Revenge for Brock. Whew. Ragnarok comes out of the sky and begins to destroy Asgard. They need to get out of there ASAP. Freya's brother, comes out and holds off the sword of Ragnarok as everyone else escapes. But Freyr does not make it and sacrifices himself as everyone else leaves. We wake up as Atreus, a new dawn, a new world, new alliances have formed. Angrboda shows us a new shrine. Faye changed the prophecy. She went against her people. She destroyed the shrine. Now, because of her, they were able to forge their own path. It was all because of Faye. Atreus tells his dad he's leaving to find the giants, and they say farewell in a tearjerker of a goodbye. As Kratos leaves, he sees the other side of the prophecy, showing Kratos as a god who people pray to. A new Kratos, one who builds instead of destroys. And the credits roll. Now, the endgame content you don't want to miss is Brock's funeral, where they push Brock out into the river and shoot a fire arrow. And it is a beautiful scene. Whew, that was the entire story of God of War Ragnarok. It's a lot. I mean, we'd even cover side quests because that's like a lot of hours there to do that. But it's an incredible game. Strongly recommend to play it if you have the time for it. And of course, if you have a PlayStation. Our next video, we're going to talk about what we loved and really get into the nitty gritty of God of War Ragnarok, speaking about the menus, the characters, the twists and turns, and more. So be sure to check that video out when it comes out. Like, comment, subscribe because it helps our channel. I'm Josh Saleh. Thanks for watching AdoramaXP. Peace.